Good day and good evening, and welcome back to Roulette Live with me, Chaiji, but you can just call me Kai. Tonight, I thought, let's play some tanks, and then I thought, well, last week we got like one high-level duty, the rest was basically like 50 or below, for the most part, so I thought, Gunbreaker's really good in that level range. So I'm going to be playing Gunbreaker. Now, that said, hey Teldemar, hey Rost, hey Seros, hey Tung, hey Naomi, hey Vince, hey Jen Monica, hey Lana, hey Lechaw, hey Sally, hey Jomi, hey Tubby, hey Evelyn, hey Nox, hey Tess, hey Cole, and hey Matthew. Hope you're all doing very well. And enjoy work, Tess. But yeah, that's the plan. RIP to any machinists you end up queued with. Wait, why? Oh, because I'll break their guns. That's fine. If they're on my team, it's okay. He's off. Hope you're doing well. Right, I will queue when it says 16. Double standards, absolutely. Well, this is a good start. Part of my genius here was I'll pick a job where I'm basically trying to magically force it to be low-level stuff, so get something more interesting. You would want a double standard finish. Oh yes, you should do that every time. Always double standard finish. This was definitely one of the more interesting level 60 dungeons. It's just a shame that, for the most part, it has the classic, you know, high-level dungeon problem of massive overlevel, like overgearing. Yeah, I should be using Sonic Break early. I do realize that, Cole. I'm sort of not sure which that the mobs are going to live long enough. And there's also the whole getting as many AoE attacks in as you can, or while you can. And inspect on the Dragoon. It's because you might know them? I don't know, it will show their their character name, wouldn't it? The glam looks nice. Fair enough. It looks like the 2B legs. And is that the I don't know, was that the bunny top? Not sure. No, it's not. It could be the Galatea top. That would explain why I'm having difficulty placing it. Really hard to monitor the chat while also tanking, as it turns out. AK? And Cobalt. And Vinicius. Hope you're doing well. Ultimately, Vinicius, the only one that can truly know what would be best for you is yourself. My recommendation would be to shop around a bit, try everything. The bot was in the other chat, okay. It says where the clips go with no walk and talk. I'm trying to do them at the end of the mental roulette streams, which is where you are right now. Basically, Kay, I did some questions in the members department of the channel, and in regards to streams, there were a few people that specifically said that they didn't really care for the walk and talks, and the ones that did care, not to say that their opinion wasn't important. In fact, it's also important, but the ones that did care for walk and talk didn't seem to it didn't have to be walk and talk. So I'm doing a lot of different stuff at the moment, also trying some different things, but the idea was that the ones that really liked walk and talk, I guess. Yeah, exactly. The question is, you didn't answer. Indeed. That doesn't mean that the community stuff is going to be gone or something. It just means that I'm trying to do it differently. The logic being not necessarily that, oh, no more that. It's more the logic is, by not having walk and talk, I have that time to do something that everyone will enjoy more. Wait. Is there no more packs after this? And it's also true, cool, that sometimes we didn't really have that much to talk about, necessarily. And other times we had a lot to talk about. And also, as Nox says, sometimes a stream that had nothing to do with walk and talk suddenly becomes it, necessarily. Last week, where we ended up essentially having a... queue and talk in Fellowship, because the queue just wasn't happening. Yeah, that's fair out. What confused me was that it seemed like nothing spawned as I approached down here. So it's like I might as well just go back up. I'll say Snow Shiro, hope you're doing well. And Ripmaster, hope you're doing well as well. And hey, Kiwi Crusher, hope you're doing well. Man, this boss is really good at choosing its spots on when it wants to and doesn't want to move. That weirdly convenient timing. Planned or something. But yeah, basically the logic in the walk and talks being removed is we can talk just fine without it being the priority subject. I have mentioned in the past that if it isn't the main subject, then sometimes specific things will not be discussed. But I feel like we are pretty good at like covering the various subjects just the same. And then that time can be used on a topic that we all find more interesting, perhaps. That's the idea, anyway. Cobalt says, just got to Solution 9 for the first time in the store. It's like, wait, I know that music, right? That must have been weird. Wait a minute, am I walking into a video? It's just, who's that walking down the street? And it's just me. It just radiates the music. Oh, that's unfortunate, Zaf. I guess we'll see what we do about it if that becomes a regularly occurring problem. Yeah, I'm being followed by 8 bards that are just playing the Solution 9 theme. Kaigetic music. Right, I will queue when it says 20:00. Can't believe Screening stole your music. Walk into Solution 9 and hear echoes of Kai's voice stating fun facts and optimization tips. Oh, instant replacement. Alliance raid. Not quite. Hey, Yagatosaka. Hope you're doing well. Thank you for the Prime, Snow Shiro. Thank you so much. You got any holies in these trying times? No? Well, I'm glad you're spamming arrow. That's at least not nothing, I guess. The thing that always is kind of funny about that is that if they used Holy, they wouldn't need to do all that healing. Not nearly to the same degree. Might be that it hurts their eyes. I will say, if you're playing a character in a video game and the reason you're not using one of your best attacks is because it hurts your eyes, then you should probably play a different character. Like, I'm sorry, that might sound a little bit toxic, but come on. Yeah, or disable the effects. But the logic of me not suggesting that is maybe they don't know that that's an option. But I'm sorry, I'm not gonna call, and that's not a good reason. That's not a good reason. Someone else would play White Maiden spam Holy. Yeah, which is why you would have to figure out the disabling effects. And actually, no, if you're still the healer, then no one else is there to spam Holy, technically. Hey, Sleepy Vlad, thank you so much for the super chat. That's huge. Thank you so much. I know this isn't that much, but I want to give back for all the content I watch on a daily basis. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. That is awesome. I guess I still have to figure out how to make that display properly on the screen. But it really matters a lot to me, Sleepy Vlad. Thank you so much. I mean, it's a lot to me. Thank you. Yeah, indeed. Basically, if the reason you're not using Holy is due to something with it being too bright, then you may need to do something with monitor settings even. Like, I can see it as a reason, but like, I'm sorry. That one goes in the same column as I don't attack because I don't want to. $20 can buy you a whole Silk song. That's true. That's a very good example. See, a lot of money. Hey, Uber Penguin, hope you're doing well. Hey, Joao, hope you're doing well. Yeah, we do not have a... Oh, that they don't have sound on. That is pretty funny. Yeah, that's an important distinction, by the way. If the reason that you're not attacking is because you don't know better, That's a completely different story to... Oh, I didn't know. To be fair, while we're on the topic of that possibility, there are some players that act like it should be obvious that that one should attack as a healer. On the one hand, the moment you realize that it's an option, it feels like it's almost idiotic to have thought otherwise ever. But that doesn't change the fact that there are players that just straight up don't know that yet. I don't quite know what to do with Joao over there, because they don't have sound on, so I cannot tell them what's going on, but they're trying to use bot commands that are not there. Hey Mad Hatter, hope you're doing well. Saley says, why would you watch a stream without sound on? Could be deaf, technically. Like maybe they're looking for command to have subtitles or something. I don't know. Hey Rillian, hope you're doing well. Hey, Ilfa. That's also a funny one. I will say I find it, in my experience, it's a lot less common to meet the healer that doesn't heal than the one that doesn't attack. That's just my experience, though. Hey, Swim Nerd! Hope you're doing well, and welcome to the Cult of the Pink. Thank you so much for the support. Thank you. But yeah, I don't know. There are some streams that have like intricate UIs that maybe would allow someone to enjoy the stream in full without sound on. I don't know. The subject is healer, not DPSing. I'm assuming they haven't played another MMO or played Kingdom Hearts. See, the interesting thing, Mad Hatter, is a way to meet a healer that refuses to attack could actually be that the individual has played another MMO, but the last time they played an MMO was like over a decade ago. Yeah, that's also what I suggested, Kay. Like, really old school MMOs where it was a lot more common for the healer to just not attack. And even nowadays, there are still players that very strongly believe that it should be like that. Hey Jessica, hope you're doing well. And yeah, exactly, I have also suggested that one as a common explanation as to why some healers don't attack once they get into a group. That, well, I have an attack because obviously how else would I defend myself when I don't have a party? But I would say if you are an actively thinking player and considering player, then you will probably notice in lower level dungeons that you spend a lot of time as a healer. If you're not attacking, you will spend a lot of time not doing anything. Now, some healers will then go, but you see, I'm conserving my MP for when I do need to heal a ton. And then it's like, big assumption. Wow. Eaterit says, pretty sure I heard that during first coil raids, healers were only healing and not casting any attacks. I have been told that back in Heaven's Ward, so that in all of A Realm Reborn, and then a part of Heaven's Ward, it was basically considered like Galaxy Brain pro strats for like hardcore gamers to have the healers attack. Even if some of those players that were pretty strong back then will tell you otherwise, they were playing with those players who were like, wait, I could just attack right now. But in coils, you would also have, like, the healers wouldn't have as much MP to go around. So it made sense that they might not actually have the resources to, to attack all the time. There was also the whole cleric stance thing, so they would have to, actively switch to attack mode to get any value out of it. Matthew says, then in Fellowship, attacking is required for resource management. Yeah, that is actually an interesting point. Some haven't played it or don't even know what it is, so I should probably go into a little bit of detail with that. Fellowship, pretty new game. Basically dungeon runner the game, 4-man content all around. Both of the healers in the game have other reasons to attack than damage. Like, if you don't have anything better to do, then you can attack. And the reason you're attacking is not actually necessarily for the damage. Like Sage, better than Sage, Agatozaka. Let me put it like this. Sylvie, which is like a heal over time healer, she reduces the cooldown of one of her stronger healing cooldowns by attacking. And all of her attacks have a chance of just refunding the MP, but her basic attack refunds itself, which means that it might just give, like, it doesn't give very much, but if because it always refunds itself, and then you have a chance of refunding the spell itself, you could just get free MP for it. And then on top of that, when you get the full MP refund chance, you generate a vine that attacks for you, but the mere presence of that vine makes all your overtime healing better. Like, it just increases the healing you do for existing. So you want to have a lot of vines. And then Vigor, his reason to attack is that his cheapest spell is his attack spell. And whenever he uses that attack, he generates a fifth of a better resource that he'd rather have. Like, he would rather have that resource than MP. And the spell doesn't really... It costs, like, 1 MP, I think. Like, it's basically free. But if it happens to proc that chance to refund itself, it's like a stat called Spirit that does that, which is why both healers have it. He just generates a whole one of that other resource just instantly. So again, the reason that you want to attack is because for both healers, it's your most cost-efficient resource generator. Which also matters because MP actually has value in that game. So when I say that Fellowship does it better than Sage, is Sage's reason to attack falls a little flat when you look a little closer. Also, hey Billy, hope you're doing well. Jomi says, my mind goes back to Mr. Happy's kill video of Titan Hard, where they had 3 healers. Wow. Hey Prakash, hope you're doing well. And hey GX, hope you're doing well as well. Oh yeah, that's also true that that the healers also have other reasons to attack in Fellowship, but if you compare it to Sage in Final Fantasy XIV, a very interesting thing I've seen. So basically, if you want to go through if you want to see some of the conversation points, how I am so ready to discuss any reason someone can come up with for not attacking as a healer, all you have to do is find my short on YouTube called something like Why Some Healers Don't Attack. If you check the comments, you'll find, well, one, you'll find a lot of people that didn't get that I was explaining why some healers don't attack, not why they shouldn't attack. Like, I'm basically explaining some of the logic they go through to come to that conclusion. But if you also read through those comments, you'll also find various other excuses, and one of the best, funniest ones that I've seen was someone going, the only healer that can't get away with not attacking is Sage because they heal better by attacking. And I was like, Diagnosis heals more per second than attacking, technically. So a Sage could gain value just the same from just spamming Diagnosis. You shouldn't, but that there is not the reason. Hey fellow, hope you're doing well. Since you were so fast at honoring the play at the end, do you see yourself making a video about extra shortcuts to improve your time for daily roulettes? I see so many continue to run in cutscenes. I don't understand what you mean at that last bit. See, I can't read that name, but the question is, which job should I start playing 1 to 100 I just started playing? The one you think is most fun. That is genuinely the correct answer. Also, hey Caetsu, hope you're doing well. But yeah, basically, Sage causes a lot of confusion, because some people go like, well, it heals by attacking, so it should always be attacking, when all the other healers generally should be attacking when they can too, and Sage can heal more by switching to healing directly. But you generally don't want to be put in that position. Fella says, at the end of the dungeon, there's a cutscene for the final boss. I hit escape and yes to skip the cutscene, while others seem to not even get the cutscene. Oh, that! This. But it only works if it's not your first time. I will queue when it says 10. But I specifically that one, I don't think I've ever covered, really. But I actually have... Oh, I'm a replacement again. Is it Alliance Raid this time? I actually have like 2 videos... Yes, it is. Going over UI stuff and settings. Is there an option to turn off the UI pop-up when trying to sell items? I don't think so. Partly because the reason that pop-up is there is because it's saying, are you sure you want to sell this special item that you might actually not be able to replace? The thing is, there's a lot of items that ask that of you that don't have enough value to justify having that question pop up. Hey Eyelid, hope you're doing well. How do we feel about people who don't wait for cutscenes? I'll say it's a complicated conversation. On the one hand, it would be nice if people were more patient in that regard. On the other hand, if it should be not allowed to do that, then the developers are in their right and have the power to make it so that the boss doesn't spawn before everyone has finished the cutscene. So I'll say I understand both sides is what I'm getting at. But I don't... Personally, I will usually wait. But I will not do that thing where I'll just stand there with my arms crossed if someone else pulls. I'll go in. Hey, Bubblemat. Hope you're doing well. But it is a complicated one. I will say though, the true bad manners is if someone then has the audacity to be mad that someone watched the cutscene. Like, that's where I draw the line. They clearly indicated they were watching the cutscene. You pulled. So you're the idiot for not waiting for them. You should have waited. That's what I think is that's the clear distinction for me. GX says, is it normal to be level 80 at Stormblood with 3 jobs? If you do a lot of side content in addition to the main quest, that is absolutely possible. Even without doing any side content, you should be largely able to keep up a single job and get like 10 levels ahead of the main quest by just doing the main quest. So yeah, that is not unusual. And there isn't necessarily in that aspect a right way to play. If you do a lot of side content, then you're going to go way ahead because the main content is designed to be mostly doable without doing all of the side content, without forcing you to do all the side content. So, as a result, if you choose to do both, then you're going to get ahead. Sleepy Blad says, how bad is the ping playing on EU servers from NA on average? It depends on where you are in NA. I've heard some have like 100. I see someone recognized me in the alliance. I'm having trouble tracking them down though. Don't tank the 5-headed dragon in the middle of the arena. That's ridiculous. Hey, Neko Kawaii. Hope you're doing well. Do you mean pulling him up to this corner, Bokash? Like what I just did now. The reason why you do that is because it regularly does a no telegraph frontal cleave, and it sometimes does that white breath thing, taking up like everything in a large cone in front of it, and that ice and the knock-up mechanic, like there's a few things that require a lot of space. But if you have the dragon in the middle of the arena, then everything, like the third of the arena that is in front of the boss is off limits for everyone except tanks if they want to be safe. But if you instead move the dragon into the corner, then you don't need, then you basically nullify these mechanics. It's not like he has mechanics. I just listed like 3 mechanics that need space, Bokaj. I like literally listed 3 before you said that. Come on. That ice takes up a lot of space, as you can see, as they're expanding. And there's a whole bunch of players that needed space to get away over to that corner. You might be able to do it with the boss in the middle, but it's easier putting the boss in a corner. So it's just counterpoint, no reason to keep the boss in the middle. Like, you're making all those mechanics easier to deal with at the cost of moving the boss for 5 seconds, if even that. Well, not necessarily, Agatha. The reason why you pull a boss to the corner is if they have a reason to be pulled to the corner. It's not, well, the boss jumps to the middle regularly, so don't. It's genuinely, does the boss give you a reason to... So it has to be both they don't jump to the middle repeatedly, and then also, do they do something scary that justifies pulling them to the corner? Man, you're really spicy today, Bokaj. The sass is coming out strong. Oh, I'm sure it was, Telemar. It was more the principle. It's a fantastic meme, because it's very common to say it, like, when someone's like, no, pull the boss to the corner, and it's a circle. It's a classic. Like, well, circles don't have corners. True. Also, I just realized now how you tell them. You specifically landed the response for Bokaj. Like, you basically set it up. So fair enough, Bokaj. You're not sassy. You're just good at responding. Sorry about that. And the slam dunk. Hey Marcus, hope you're doing well. There's a lot of people going in one by one. But hey, the entirety of Alliance B made it, guys. Oh man, that's a that's a long run. That is actually an interesting one for you to bring up, Bokash, because the being slow to put the chains on Cerberus is equally something that you can do for safety reasons, because it means Cerberus isn't attacking. But you could just put the chains on immediately and be on, like, go on with your day. Should be fine. The important part is that the chains go on. It is very satisfying when people do it perfectly, in the same way that I'm like, nope, you pull the dragon to the corner. Well, to the edge. What do you mean, fellow? What's I zip? Hope you're doing well. That's also a good point, Ilana. That is actually general casual duty pro tip. Be careful greeting too hard. Because genuinely, some more casual players may start to play badly or make more mistakes if they get really close to death. Even if you're the healer and you're like, I've got this, I know they won't take damage for a while, they're basically like, they're already planning, like they're basically packing their bags, like that DPS is sending whatever cooldowns they have and spending resources immediately because they're expecting that you will not save them. In a similar way that even if the most effective strategy to do a specific mechanic is to greet it really hard and be slow to do it, with strangers in a casual setting, it might actually be optimal to just get it done. No, I will not do that, fellow. I usually do something slightly different. for my April Fools. And also I have an alt that is a lot of fill. You just haven't seen it because I haven't played her since Dawntrail, pretty much. And yeah, as Sally says, the first walk and talk was April Fools. So in a way, and also, by the way, the first Mentor Roulette Live was also April Fools. Fun fact. The first Mentor Roulette Live was on April 1st. So, strangely, what I often use April 1st for is to test some new idea. It's actually a genius strategy, because then if it's not very good, then you can just be like, well, it was April Fools. And if it is really good, then you can just keep doing it. There's also the part that I know some people find it really exhausting that on April 1st, everyone just do these nothing burger videos and streams that don't amount to anything. Because it's April 1st, haha, funny. But some people actually would rather not that. So I try to do something like, it's the same where it's not unusual that on the day where a new Savage tier starts, I'll just be doing dailies or something. Like, I'll just do a stream that has nothing to do with Savage raiding. Because the people that don't want to see Savage raid, those that want to see Savage raid, probably have someone they'd rather watch than me. And the ones that don't want to see Savage raid, who do they watch? There are other people than me, surely. So it's not that bad, but like that kind of logic. Also because we usually raid on Saturdays, that's also true. Hey Latvian, hope you're doing well. We were in PvP yesterday and you out-DPS'd my Summoner's Paladin. That's, yeah, well, that match really sucked. I looked at the stats and was disappointed in my performance, but that match really sucked. Anyway, I'll be right back and then we'll continue. In the meantime, Manatee restored. Alright, I'm back. But yeah, I'm not saying that there's anything wrong necessarily with the whole April Fool's thing. It's just more that I definitely see the, like, if, like, let's say that you have like a whole bunch of people you subscribe to. And every single one puts out a silly, you know, April Fool's video for April Fools. That's why, like, the thing is, I also do something related to April 1st on April 1st, usually. Like, as I said, one year, I put out a coffee biscuit recipe. However, it was presented like a boss guide. The next year, I did a stream of us just walking. And at the time, I believe it was one of, if not my most watched stream on the channel. And then this year, I did Mental Roulette Live. And the trick being, the logic there being that you could fool me by maybe queuing into me with some hard extreme duty that we'll then have to face. That didn't happen, but that was like the connection to April 1st. It's like, I try to make it something silly while not making the whole joke that. I'll say bravo and signal. Hope you're doing well. Right, I will queue when it says 47. Next year, grind Crystalline Conflict to top rank. In one day? No. In Season 1 of Crystalline Conflict, I actually hit Crystal. But I don't think I'll do that again. By the time I had finished, I had stopped really having fun with it, but also continued because I had already put too much time into climbing. Hey Ritsu, hope you're doing well. Stone Vigil. Oh boy. I wonder how much our healer can take, but I will stop in this room. Guildhest Roulette only stream. The April Fools is on all the other mentors. Haha! Gridmaster says Stone Vigil seems seems weird in terms of level. It's strangely challenging because of what it allows you to do compared to other dungeons in a similar level range, right? Well, level range is a weird spectrum here. Hey Nana, hope you're doing well. This just picked up Ninja and Dragoon. How do people stay awake playing something ranged? The ranged jobs also have complex rotations. In fact, if you just picked up Ninja and Dragoon, the first like 30 levels of those is just 1, 2, 3s nearly. Almost. Just dodge Lamau. Did I make it this time? Oh, I made it again! Fantastic! Hey, Kyrios! Hope you're doing well. Singular person in Eorzea who knows how to tank this boss. It's not that easy to do that trick. Even though it might have looked easy because I got it every single time. Oh, whoops. Good luck, Taldemar. I should have waited until Rampart ended before I used Camouflage, I think. Now I'm slowing a few of the enemies, but for the most part it's all on the Scholar, which is never good. Hey Grim Raven, hope you're doing well. Yes, correct, Snowshearer. I believe the main justification to not dodge the pair stacks on M3S is mainly that trying to do that can put everyone else in danger if you don't do it perfectly. Hey Five Tail, hope you're doing well. Yeah, unfortunately, there's not much you can dodge that is targeted in this fight. Aelia, hope you're doing well. And that's the reason why I do them in 2 parts. When it's just when it's a mental roulette. That is the reason. Wow! Wow! Chico, wow! Oh. Okay. That's okay. Yep. I didn't want to use my no mercy anyway. It's okay. I didn't dodge that one in time. My combo ran out. Ilana says, I'm not sure. Ice AoEs used to last on the floor, didn't it? That's correct. Yep. At some point, I believe when they added duty support to Stone Vigil, they changed the second and third boss. I can't remember in full. Oh yes, the second boss used to have this whole thing where you had to like shoot the dragon with the cannons and stuff. But you basically completely trivialized it, because if you pulled the boss all the way to the boss entrance, like the room entrance, then the dragon couldn't reach you. So you could just completely ignore that and just kill the boss. So instead of fixing that, they just reworked the whole boss to what it is now. And then the final boss, they made it so that the circle AoEs it puts down there does not leave a persistent AoE anymore. Yeah, the tornadoes were bad. The key was that I believe the tornadoes were sourced from something that meant they wouldn't appear if you were in the opening of the room. Really strange. How's that, Shaq? Hope you're doing well. Curious says, which is your favorite tank to play? I very much like Paladin at the moment, but Gunbreaker is very good when you're getting a lot of low-level duties. I'll queue when it says 38. I'm not a huge fan of low-level Paladin. Wow! Redmaster says, I'm curious how they're gonna rework Aurum Vale. It wouldn't surprise me if the first and third boss would receive some changes. Not sure about the first room. Again, it wouldn't surprise me if they do something to it, but I can't see why they would. Yeah, I'll say, if they do change the first room, then... Whoops, I don't need to attack it anymore. Then, it wouldn't surprise me if they remove all of the side paths in Zavale Darkhold while they're at it. Like, the thing is... The justification for changing the first room is, well, the room having all that stuff on the right is irrelevant when everyone just leans hard to the left and just, like, only pulls the necessary packs. What's the point of all that? Counterpoint, it's there so you have the choice to make the wrong choice. Or an alternative choice. Do you think it's a bad thing if they made the AR dungeons linear? I think it would. It's just unnecessary to make them more linear. I'll queue when it says 36. Is it possible to clear all mobs in the first room synced? Maybe? Like, if you pull the whole thing, it might be possible. Back in Endwalker, I made a video about the hardest wall-to-wall pulls, just like I've done in Dawntrail. And I specifically disqualified that. I showed an attempt to pull all of it, but I personally disqualified it from my list with the justification that there's no reason to pull that. Like, because you could just not, and all of those mobs on the right, they don't give XP anymore, so, like, there's no reason to pull it aside from it would be funny though, which I guess fair point. Like, sometimes Lamau is a good enough reason, but it also seemed a little bit unfair because certain other dungeons you might not count a side room pack. But when I say specifically that, leaving that half of the room there for someone to make the correct choice. I'm specifically saying, like, this is something that Final Fantasy XIV used to have a lot more of. Ooh. Is a lot of actions that, like, in an RPG makes sense for a job to have, for instance. But in a combat scenario, most of the time it's actually stupid to even consider using it. Most jobs don't have this kind of stuff very much anymore, because it has been streamlined out. And there's nothing wrong with that necessarily, but it does have that effect that instead of players feeling good about choosing right, because there's the right answer is like right there, it reaches more so a situation of it feels bad to choose wrong. Because the answer's right there. Like in job rotations and things like that. But by basically by removing those, it kind of leads to this weird experience where somehow it feels worse, even though you weren't going, like, basically you have a button that basically says don't use me, and simply by choosing not to use it, you're like, oh, I'm smart, I chose to not use the button that said don't use me. Man, I'm good at this game. And I know that sounds ridiculous, but it's not entirely false. Other games have used this kind of logic as well. I think in Hearthstone, it's the Magma Rager effect. They put cards in the game that are deliberately supreme mega garbage. But then you have that moment of going, oh, I shouldn't use that. And the game goes, yes, that's right. There would be no pull that is not doable? Well, I don't know about that. Would that be true? Yeah, I don't actually know, because there's a lot of optional dungeons that might have some weird crazy pull. But to give a slightly weird example of this experience of being able to choose right, or at least being given the option to choose at all, is we talked a little bit about the Fellowship earlier. In that game, there's very little reason for most characters to not start a dungeon by mounting up. Why wouldn't you mount up? You can mount in dungeons, so it's faster if you just mount up. Before the dungeon starts, just mount up. It's a gain, basically. Like, there are a few characters where you're like, or a few situations maybe where you're like, oh, actually, you might want to start on foot so you can, like, set up something and then mount up in the countdown. But if the game just plopped you into the dungeon already mounted, then you don't even have the option to choose to mount. Even though it's like most of the time the correct answer, the fact that you're given the option to choose means that choosing to mount has that feeling of, yes, I made the correct choice. I'm smart. Yes. Even if it's such a whatever nothing burger of a choice. Jose Martian, hope you're doing well. And yet, Cole has a pretty good example of it. It's a little bit of like an exaggeration. Also, hey Tenshi, hope you're doing well as well. And Seraph, hope you're doing well as well. Cole has a pretty good example of it. Is if the game is just going to only let me play correctly, then why are you giving me, like, why are you putting the ball in my court? Like, why are you like, you can only choose correctly, but you have to choose it. Like, it feels a little silly when it becomes a little too streamlined. And that's like a slight exaggeration of what 14 does. Because that's not quite what 14 does. But there are some cases where it feels like there are so few options that it is actually difficult to choose wrong for some jobs. Exactly, Latvian. That is a really good example. Because it's so important to set up that tank stance at the start of a dungeon, the effect it has when you remember to do it is like, meh. While forgetting to kind of sucks. Arguably, it's possible in the context of Fellowship that as you play the game more, you'll reach the point where you're like, you just feel stupid if you forget to mount up before the dungeon starts. But because there are reasons to not mount up right at the start, it still puts a little bit of like optimization in the court of the player. Allow me to introduce you to Alto Battler genre. You know what? That's an interesting point there. Hey Nightly Valor, hope you're doing well. Wow, Sonic Break managed to take out fully. Crazy. They don't care about options in games where you essentially do the same things over and over, run the same dungeon, etc. Especially in co-op, and especially with random people, is because it only matters the first time someone makes the correct choice, and then everyone chooses the same choice every subsequent time. I will say, based on what I've seen in Fellowship, even when people have websites already made to share routes, to hypothetically make sure everyone always runs the dungeon exactly the same way, I still see people find different ways to do the dungeon that isn't like necessarily like, well, that's just bad. So I will say that I feel like there's some part of the conversation that is like design problem. There's also the part that if a dungeon offers you if the dungeon offers you exactly one point where you can choose two different paths, and those two paths don't have an impact on the rest of the dungeon at any point, then the only thing that matters between those two paths is which one is shorter. A somewhat simple example that 14 used to have is 1,000 Maws of Totorak almost had it, I think, or might even have had it. Some of you may have heard of the of that whole thing where 1,000 Maws of Totorak used to have like a splitting path here and there before they reworked it. Those paths, like, you needed to pick up these like photo cells or whatever they were called. And you needed a certain amount, and the two paths had different, like, could have had different amounts. I can't actually remember if they did. But if they did, then choosing to go left at the first opportunity could mean that you have to do something else later in the dungeon. Which, like, that means that there's more to the conversation than which of these two paths are shorter, period. No, I didn't just hear of it, I played it. That's the spirit. But again, the thing that happens in a game like Final Fantasy XIV is that we found out which path was the shortest. And then people just did that. Uh-oh. Oh no, I have a dot. Boss dead. But yeah, basically what I'm getting at is, arguably, 1,000 Maws of Totorak had like the start, like the beginning of something that could be great. But it didn't quite go far enough that it actually got interesting. There's also the argument that 1,000 Maws of Totorak is mayhaps a tad early in the game for something quote-unquote that complicated. If it had been, like, if they had, like, 1,000 Maws of Totorak hard at level 50, that one would be way better for something like that. And yeah, also, as was stated, because most jobs can do all the same things, in Final Fantasy XIV, it isn't like a specific path in a dungeon would be impacted by what group composition you have. There's also the part that because of the rank, you could say, that 14 places casual dungeons at, like the kind of difficulty they're put at, the kind of player that do them would probably prefer if it wasn't super complicated, right? That was not my smartest planned no mercy. Oh well. Marcus says, let's make 8.0 ARR reprise, where they restore the reworked dungeons and up them to level 110. Final Fantasy XIV finally figures out how to do, how to compete with World of Warcraft's whole classic series. The reason why I'm stretching it to that is because the kind of way that 14 has a little bit of a tendency to, like, introduce something and then just, like, rolling with it. I'm not trying to be mean here, but there are some places where it does feel like 14, like, introduces a thing, and then they're like, oh, that's just part of the menu now. That's what we do for that patch. In the cycle. Could mean very quickly that making the next expansion effectively a Realm Reborn reprise could mean they put it on a rail and go, fantastic! Now we also know what to do for the next 5 expansions. You get what I mean? Now, to follow the amazing success of a Realm Reborn reprise, the next expansion is Heaven's Ward reprise. Hey, Balanti! Nope, you're doing well. Poglanti. Poglanti. Here. Heaven's rewarded. Nice, GL. Congratulations, Zarf! Hey, Alex. Hope you're doing well. There's actually something interesting to be said about that, Cole, because around the time... honestly, I can't remember if it was... if it was when the whole hardcore scene started in WoW, or if it was when Wrath started his whole soloing series. However, and I think it was around Wrath's soloing series starting, but there was this whole boom, obviously, in like weird ways to play 14, and among them, there was actually some people doing like hardcore runs of 14, and what you quickly ran into with 14 is that the difference between 14 and like classic WoW makes 14 not the most amazing place for hardcore gameplay. And just to clarify, hardcore meaning permadeath. And the reason is that with classic WoW, even if you're like somewhat like making sure you're doing a semi-optimal route or something, you have a few ways to like level up your character. You can like choose to quest in different zones than last time, and you can choose whether you do or don't do dungeons and things like that. Like you have a few options, and you have a lot of like a lot of classes, I suppose, and you can just do a different build this time or something. Whereas in 14, you still have a lot of classes you can choose from, but you have exactly 3 paths to start on, and if it's hardcore, you will probably have very little reason to do side quests unless you get really far. Unless you're like making your own gear, etc. But because all of the dungeons are mandatory in that way, you know, it puts you on a rail. But what if it was actually like the 2.0, 2.5 patch or whatever, not whatever AI is nowadays? No, what I'm specifically thinking is not like it's completely unrelated to the difficulty of the journey. I'm specifically saying in actual A Realm Reborn, the journey was the same. Although there's some quests have been removed now, but the journey was the same. And that is actually something that hardcore streamers, I think, sort of ran into at some point, is that every time they die, they have to go through like the first like 10, depending on how many times they've gone, 20 levels of basically what they've done like 50 times. It's a little bit like Palace of the Dead or other like deep dungeons, that the first like a solo run, the first X floors, kind of whatever. But then you get to the good part, where it starts to get interesting. And you have to reach that every time you die. I'm not saying that this experience has to be interesting to watch. I'm specifically saying that I think the concept that it might not be interesting to watch for a large part also translates to it might not be very interesting to do. But I couldn't possibly know without them actually testing it. I think a good start would be if they actually did, you know, A Realm Reborn servers first, but based on what Yoshi P has said, I don't think that's ever happening. Also, hey Baka, hope you're doing well. I don't understand hardcore runs like that. That's fair. It is really, it is a strange thing to do. I'll queue when it says 11. Because it's so much time and then just gone. But because it is so much time, like so much on the line, it does change the relationship you have with the journey itself. Which is a little weird. Oh, an 8-man duty. That what you... it kind of has changed a bit, but at least know at the start of the whole, like, hardcore WoW thing, parties were really good. Like, it was actually good players, or even the worst players were still careful. So, like, it was actually pretty safe to do dungeons. Oh, Odin. And Lichal's here. Hey. But basically, because there was so much on the line, players were a lot better. And players cared a lot more. People didn't just give up when things went sideways, because if they did, they would lose like tens or hundreds of hours of effort. So they would actually like fight for all they had. There was also some that would like do the thing we call roaching. It's just like they'd just flee without even trying to help anyone else. Oh boy. Well, you're probably right about that, Cole. I don't know if the correct answer to that is a Realm Reborn hardcore. But I do agree that there is definitely a section of player that is getting a little bit starved on content for years. And I think a large part of it simply boils down to, if you make an MMO, the cost of making the MMO is so high that you need a lot of players to play the MMO to make up, like, to make ends meet on it, make it worth it. Which then means you have to make sure that your game appeals to a ridiculous amount of players. And for some reason, a lot of the players that like themselves in MMO, there seems to be, it is like a little bit of guesswork on my part, just to be clear, a little bit of guesswork. But it does seem like a lot of the players that like an MMO may be more into it for like the grinding aspect. So it doesn't have to be hard. They just want a lot of stuff to grind. I will though say that a common problem with making an MMO is that a bit of the motivation in like getting good at an MMO is to see the really good players like have all the cool gear. So you kinda simultaneously also need to have actually hard content that the really good players will engage in. So like motivate the more casual player. Like they need something to look up to. Which is also very strange. Because it's like it's a whole ecosystem. It all needs to be there. And the difficulty is in finding the balance, where you get enough for everyone. And yeah, also that, GL, if they put too much grinding in the game, then the casuals will get mad that it's too grindy. But you also need to put enough grind in the game that the casuals have enough things to grind. Like, I'm just saying, the whole observation of like optimizing games like this. And when I'm saying optimizing games, I'm both talking from the player's perspective and from the developer perspective. Is that it turns out it's really hard to make that cost efficient. That's also true, Cole. Also, hey, Nyasferatu, hope you're doing well. And the roulettes have been alright. We haven't got mostly like pretty simple duties. I'll queue when it says 2. 4, 2. But so far we also only gotten 1 guild hest, which is pretty good. Oh, Tamtara Deepcroft, the classic. Hey, Lollipop Pizza, hope you're doing well. Oh, Black Mage knows me. The healer just said, I'm new, please be friendly. So I slowed down right here. Hopefully they'll make it. Wait a minute. Did they ever claim that Chaotic was casual? They said that they had a little weird thing with the balancing and ended up being closer to Savage, I believe. I don't know why I had my auto attack parked on the one that wasn't taking damage. That was really stupid. Could have been typing. They might have. They said that they were new and to be friendly. And then I said I can slow down, but you will have to run, not walk. Because I saw them literally like potato walking towards the fighting. I'm not having that. Like I am very... I'm a friendly mentor, but I have my limits. Not gonna walk through Tantara Deepcroft Heart because you don't want to run. He has a Metricon. Hope you're doing well. But yeah, apparently the Black Mage knows me. They said, hi, YouTube. But that is true, Cole, that it doesn't have to be hard. They just have to be high stakes. But I will also say, I think a big selling point for the high stakes of Classic WoW was that it was known to not be that hard. It's just time consuming, which, you know, emphasizes the high stakes. But yeah, I'm just saying, I've talked about this one before. Our healer is attacking. They're learning. They admit it as much. But they are attacking. So, there is hope at the end of the tunnel, one might say. They're not just going to, like, just derp around never attacking forever. Because they're already attacking. Oh, someone else stunned it. Fantastic. Not knowing the monk has 500,000 subscribers. You know, that's fair. It could be that actually the only one who isn't recording right now is the black mage. Now that would be funny. Did you ever watch some of the hardcore classic duels? I did not. Not really. I have watched a little bit, but not really. I think I watched like a quote-unquote hardcore tournament that Guzu streamed. But that was like a level 10 tournament or something like that. Three YouTubers and a black mage walk into a bar. Alex Lucifer, hope you're doing well. And hey, Flames, hope you're doing well as well. Very nice. I should have pulled the boss through there, not back there. And I should also had thought about this one. Oh boy. I'm not trying to kill you, monk. Enjoy work, Five-Tail! Yeah, we'll do like this. Again. Scared. Sprout healer. And that is also good motivation to unlock everything, Taka. And when you get the combat mentor, you get the you don't get access to mentor roulette immediately, but you know you do get access to the button for mentor roulette, and you can see in it what you haven't done. Oh well, if you haven't unlocked it, you can see question marks. They seem to spam cure 3. Well, to be fair, if everyone is missing HP, there could be a justification for that. But yeah, that is a rare one. That is indeed a rare one. The worst part about these ads is that they're too squishy for you to properly do something most of the time. You might believe Cure 3 is a Cure 2 upgrade. That's not too uncommon. That's correct. But they do seem to be using all 3 cures in various degrees. And they're using Cure 3 now because everyone needed HP. You see it? I don't know why they used Cure 3 there. But they were using it when everyone needed HP after Medica 2. So like, there is something here. It's like they're technically not seeming to use Cure 3 specifically because one person needs a lot of HP. So I'm like, there's not much for me to say there. Oh, I've seen that one too, Lux Lucifer. The 1-2-3 combo cure. That one's a classic. Might be panic pressing the random cures, they might be doing that too. As I said, they specifically asked to be nice. And the only request I gave in turn was you have to run. And they have been running. They've used sprint. So you know what, you get a comment. You tried your best. Hey Sultanis, hope you're doing well. That might also be the case, that they're not casting exactly what they wanted. Right. You were the Black Mage, Slither Gale. Fantastic. Hope you're doing well. Anyway, I'll be right back, and then we'll continue. In the meantime, sanity restored. Alright, I'm back. And hey Valron, hope you're doing well. If it's any help, Slithergale, remember that I have guides for Black Mage. But it is a little confusing. I will... Wait, I'll wait first. I'll queue when it says 51. Are we getting another extreme? Are we getting another trial? Are we getting another raid? Are we getting a raid? Or is that healer AFK? Ooh, underkeep. Wow.
There are beasts ahead of you. They must have gotten in and made themselves at home. There should be an access hatch nearby that leads inside. Look for an opening.
Nice.
I'm detecting something big.
And the classic, a fast group will reach the boss fast enough that you will not be able to open properly on the boss. It will leave before you can. Or at least before you can finish your burst. The 8-man was indeed striking 3 extreme and the tank and DPS insta-left. Oh. That sucks. saved by the extra skill speed. Hey, Sonic Blast, hope you're doing well. And congratulations, Agent Monica. That's awesome.
Access hatch and head inside.
Access hatch. That is pretty interesting, Lux. I thought that you needed to set your text language to Japanese to get the faster cutscenes. Not that I've ever bothered to worry about that.
Everkeep's construction was apparently a constant battle against the rising water level. Even during the war, the people labored to maintain the castle. It meant a lot to them.
Came in handy during a Mock-Tome event.
Upsetting to think that Preservation's terminal is in this place.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever participated in a Mock-Tome event making use of MSQ Roulette for that, or Praetorium to be specific either. Usually, if I recall correctly, it is like a decent choice if you're on like free trial or you're not that far in the game. But I don't think I've... Either I managed to get far enough in the game in the time frame where, like, I got into it that there wasn't a Mock-Tome event in all that time. Or I missed it when I was new.
So, you have come. Let us measure your strength.
Isn't whatever the highest level raid you can run the fastest? I don't think so. It really depends. Especially now. How's it, Cat? Hope you're doing well. Yeah, since the change to the Mock-Tome event, I've also mainly gotten mine from just hanging out on the Gold Saucer. But the reason I'm like, it's not necessarily the highest you can do is because usually it's like something in the highest level raid series you can do, but most of the time there is only one like normal raid series that is actually, you know, on the table.
That was hardly a challenge, I see. You will show me more. I bid you press on.
But yeah, I will say, in terms of like effort invested, MSQ Roulette is probably way up there. And is somewhat comparable to like... so it's precisely just hanging out in the gold saucer. Because most of the specific dungeon is spent just, you know, in cutscene. Alright, Rust, enjoy your evening. Hey Ted, hope you're doing well. The only person that can answer that is yourself. And you're also, by the way, hopping into someone who's actively playing the game stream. I'll be biased, right? Ultimately, you're the only one that can know best on that specific question. Bruh. It got stunned twice. Nothing was gonna keep it from that runner mark, as it seems. I will not be denied.
You are untroubled thus far, but I have something that may test you yet.
Never mind. Oh, we're all here. Fantastic.
This machine has long guarded these crumbling halls.
Me looking at my overview and thinking that I saw one thing, but then I didn't. I saw a different thing.
How will you handle this?
The rock is here. It's a rock.
Let us introduce more weaponry.
How about we don't? No? Okay.
Let us see what this yields. Perhaps a new approach to assess your adaptability. still alive. How unfortunate. For you to die here, it would save me trouble later.
Oop. How much faster could we clear this boss if we managed to get here as a minor? That is an excellent question. Unfortunately, we'll never know. So it says, I can't imagine that thing singing "You're welcome." Oh. Well, it doesn't say very much. And the guy speaking for it doesn't seem very musical either. I will queue when it says 36. Oh. Well, it was bound to happen eventually, right? I'll queue when it says 1. The really weird thing is I think the bot was shooting at the ads. It is very possible it is the healer that is spam queuing. I'll queue when it says 22. Hey Cass, hope you're doing well. I don't have any combat classes low enough to weaken an enemy to soothe it. Depending on how low you're thinking, casters can sometimes work. I was told about a trick here, is move the boss really far away from where the bubbles spawn. Because then the bubbles will just never be relevant. I will say in Endwalker that strategy of auto-attacking was a bit easier because different casters had like a range between 1 and like 20 with their auto-attacks, and then you know there were Scholar and Arcanist stuff that could do like 100 even though they were max level. See, that felt a little weird, because it took longer, which meant that there was a higher likelihood that any of the bubbles popped. On the other hand, it was a little nicer in the context where it did happen. I'll queue when it says 0. Indeed, Alex. I have seen cases where it took longer because the DPS or even the healers started attacking the bubbles. So one way you can make them not do that is by just making sure that all the mobs or all the bubbles are so far away that they don't even notice that they're there. Agent Monica says, I sniped LeChaw into Ultimate Weapon Extreme. Wow. Meanwhile, I'm here just doing 4-man stuff. When do we get this guy as a mount? That is a fantastic question. At this point, I'm going to guess the answer is never, however. Or maybe they're waiting for it to have been so long that we'll be surprised. Where would you even sit? His mouth? I guess? That would probably be the weirdest place, wouldn't it? Or on top of his head? It seems our Pictomancer is very desperate for some caster shoes. Are shoes best for something from here, or is it maybe is it glam? Hey Johnny, hope you're doing well. I guess it is for glam then. I just can't wait to fish in metal high heels next patch. Oh yeah, I guess that will be an option. You thought the real end game is now you can use crafted or crafter and gatherer gear for your combat job glams. No. Now you can use combat glams for your gatherers and crafters. Now we're cooking with gas. Nice. Well, both twice as many and then yet also less in a way, Alex, because now you don't have to flip through the same item of 5 different variants. I'll queue when it says 52. Oh, it's just hard. Well. Some variants will die differently. That's true. Oh, a summoner knows me. Hey. It's quite aggressive. A go tank coming out swinging with the hallowed ground on the single guy. Why did they? Oh, they don't have a lot of HP. I was like, why did they take so much more damage? This is because they have like 3k less HP than the other healer. And this guy actually hits hard when you're like not that high item level. Wow. Irregular trial raid-wide does over 50% HP on someone. I'll say Regal Star. Hope you're doing well. It is weird that they haven't changed the naming scheme in some way or another. Because at some point they stopped calling them hard as you go up. There's also something to be said that apparently, I think the story goes that the reason why Thornmarsh Hard was reworked is because of that observation that with the rework of the MSQ roulettes, Thornmarsh Hard would be the first 8-man duty you have. Proper. And also the first duty you would have where duty support is not an option. Imagine, if you will, pre-rework Thornmarsh Hard as some people's first 8-man duty. I will queue when it says 1. Hey Harry, hope you're doing well. I'm aware, Regal Star. Duty support was started with being like for just Shadowbringers dungeons and such, and then they expanded it to be basically the whole leveling experience. And then they also reworked the MSQ Roulette dungeons to be 4-man stuff and 3 parts, and instead of 2. And with all of those things combined, it meant that Thornmarsh Hard, the old version, which was a lot more involved, let's just say, would have been your first 8-man duty. Which might have been a bit much. But indeed, it took several expansions before duty support was even implemented. Yeah, indeed, Regal Star. The old version, if you've ever done Thornmarsh Extreme, synced, I suppose, Thornmarsh Hard was a lot more similar to that. It wasn't exactly the same, but it was a lot more similar to that. The key differences being that on Hard, you only had to kill the Moogles once. And when a Moogle was dead, it was gone. Like, you were good. You didn't have to, like, it wouldn't get raised again. So, but they were a little tankier to compensate. So, like, you need a little more effort to actually get rid of a specific Moogle. Which of course meant that, for instance, the Black Mage Moogle was a little bit more important to get rid of. The Healer Moogle, like the White Mage Moogle, was a little more important to get rid of before, for instance, the Tank Moogles and things like that. But the thing that really made Hard awkward was the King wasn't invulnerable. The way his enrage, quote-unquote, worked on Hard, the Memento Moogle thing that he does, was that when he hit a certain HP threshold, he would just cast it. And how much damage it did was directly correlated with how many Moogles were left alive. And some players would just be like, well, if we kill the King first, then it'll be over sooner, probably. Or they did just, or for whatever other reason, they just ignored the ads. Point is, they just, like, went laser focused on the boss, and then suddenly you wiped. Just out of nowhere, just splat. And you're like, okay, guys, listen, you have to attack the ads. You have to kill the ads, and you pull again, and then, like, Danny Dragoon just goes, nope, I'm attacking the boss. You guys deal with the ads or something. I don't care. I'm attacking the boss. And then you die again, because in fact, if you didn't have like a really, really solid group, I recall as tank sometimes having to like grab the king and then just like just taunt him and just sit with him, just auto-attack him or something, if even that. Like, you didn't do more than absolutely necessary to get his attention. After that, nothing, because he was not tanky enough for a tank to just 1, 2, 3 him all day. Not in Stormblood anyway. At least that's how I recall. I remember it. So having a DPS just going ham, that was never going to work out well. So in a way, a little bit like greeting in Labyrinth of in Labyrinth, but it was more so just ignoring mechanics. But the funny thing is, similar to Thornmarsh Extreme now, the thing that made it hard was specifically that all it took to make the fight impossible to win was one person not doing as they're told. That's all it took. One person. There's nothing you could do about it, because that one person, like, if they just made sure they dodged mechanics going their way, you couldn't be like, okay guys, so listen, don't heal Danny, okay? Don't heal him, just let him die. Then we can do the mechanics correctly where he doesn't attack the king. Danny could wipe you before he would die of natural causes. Although I will say, I don't think I ever ran into a situation where the duty was unbeatable because of something like that. That's like, I've mentioned this before, sometimes you'll have these like hypotheticals where people are like, well, someone could be a jerk and do this. Hypothetically. It's probably not gonna happen, but they could. And exactly, Jomi. What usually happened is that you'd mark a kill order, because just like Thornmarsh Hard is now, you would see the Mox Guard come in one by one. And that gave you a convenient opportunity to mark important, like the kill order as they came. And then the king would come in, he would rest all the Mox Guard, and then the hard mode fight would start proper. But I only specifically remember that the Black Mage and the White Mage were really high priority kill targets, because one heals and the other one can do a lot of AoE damage. And then I believe both of the tank Moogles were like bottom priority, which is probably not very surprising when you think about it. Like, the part of the importance of the priority list was to make sure people were not attacking the tanks while there were more important targets on the table. Yeah, that sounds about right, Yomi. Because the thing is that, to be clear, the Memento Moogle thing wasn't like, oh, there are any Moogles left alive, so you die. It was more like, if there were a lot of Moogles left, you would die. So you could, for instance, just skip the tanks. But to be fair, Regal Star, on that one, back then, you would probably, have been put in a situation where it wouldn't have been your first 8-man experience, first of all, because your first 8-man experience would have been Castrum Meridianum and Praetorium. Although they would have been, you know, a lot easier than Thorn Marsh Hard. Oh yeah, true. Cape Westwind would be the first experience. That's also correct. That is very true. Although, do you honestly, Ceres, do you feel like that would have made you feel better equipped? Yeah, all the 5 seconds of it. For those that never got to experience Cape Westwind, basically, because of power creep and gear creep and all that, the fight was over so fast that the boss would die as, like, the first mechanic was coming. The first mechanic being a pack of ads would spawn in the back, and they would come running for your healers, for instance, or your casters. And then a moment later, he would cast something, and a little after that, a gigantic circle AoE would spawn. You may have seen this in the solo duty. But it was so big that if you moved when the telegraph appeared, then I hope you had sprint. And I'm saying that because this one time I landed in Cape Westwind years ago, where I think 6 out of the 8 players, so not including me, were Sprouts in actually appropriate gear, which meant that Ritterton died a little after that Giga Circle AoE killed half the raid. But yeah, because Cape Westwind was so easy, there was this meme of if you saw any even if you didn't see any first timers, if there were any first timers, people would send a savage boss strategy macros and stuff in the party chat, just with whatever names of the boss replaced with Cape Westwind to sell the illusion, and put down markers and stuff to make it look like, oh, things are getting weird now. Are you ready? I hope you watched the guide. And then the boss dies in 1 minute. Was it also can't skip cutscene duty? No, it was a single fight. You landed in there, and people would see the opening cutscene, and then you would kill the boss in 1 minute. Done. But yeah, speaking of the can't skip cutscenes, Regal Star, back in the day, Castrum Meridianum and Praetorium, you could skip the cutscenes if you wanted to, and a lot of people did, obviously. But the part of the reason why they removed this option was because players got so fast at running these dungeons that that people could reach the next cutscene before the previous one had fully resolved, which meant that if you just like, if you're like 1 or 2 players just watching the cutscenes, you would watch the cutscene and then either come out of the cutscene to immediately get thrown into another one, or you would come out of the cutscene and then you would have missed a cutscene. Like, you would sort of had missed one because like you were already in one when like the next cutscene was queued up. So while players were like, no, it's fine, just watch the cutscenes, we'll clear the dungeon, and meanwhile, they were effectively skipping cutscenes for you by accident. Then, you can't... Also that, you would come out of a cutscene and then the duty would be over. That would also happen. But then, when they made it... I don't know what you're talking about, Rubiark. What? When they then made the cutscenes unskippable, they massively increased the reward. Oh, that's what you meant. Right, okay. Nice. When they then removed the ability to skip cutscenes, they massively increased the rewards from it, which is something that some people either never knew or often forget, because that then leads to a kind of funny conversation when some players are like, why is it that if everyone in the party don't care about the cutscenes, why can't we skip them then? On the one hand, fair argument, fair point. On the other hand, based on what I've seen, in that specific context, I would think that there is some justification in the whole, but what if someone does something quote-unquote evil with it? Exactly, Rubiark. You basically beat me to the punch. If you could skip the cutscenes, only if everyone in the party wanted to skip the cutscenes, then there would be, absolutely, there would be, how many, uncertain, but there would be players that would basically get toxic about demanding that people skip the cutscene. If they made it so that you literally cannot skip the cutscene, even if you wanted to on your first go, then they might just leave. You know, I'll take the leaver penalty rather than sit through this, not worth it. For this amount of time, I only want to do it with a full pre-made question mark. Or, and this one is a little more weird, is they might attempt to kick the person after 5 minutes. The key thing is, yes, if you get kicked from a group for that, you probably have a pretty good case to report the people that kicked you. At the same time, one, kicking in general is a little bit of a gray area. There is actually in the guidelines of the game the suggestion that sometimes it is reasonable to kick another player simply because there's a disagreement in how the dungeon should be done, like how things should be done. For instance, an example I've given is technically it's not illegal to be, like, it's totally fair game to be bad at the game, right? That is legal. arguably, you might be a really slow player. Like, you might not be walking, but you might be moving really slowly, and the party, like, as a whole, might agree that it is better that you're not part of it, because you're slowing the party down substantially. There you might have a case to kick the slow player, because there's a huge disagreement in playstyle between the players. That's the gray area. It's really weird, I know, because it basically means that on the one hand, you can't kick someone for being bad. On the other hand, which means that there could be a case that, well, we three agreed that we didn't want to watch the cutscenes, and that player can't not watch the cutscenes. So we're a bit in a disagreement here, so we kicked them. Which is absurd, of course. But some players might use that argument. Now the question is whether the GMs would take it. The second bit is, I know players that have played this game for years that don't know how to report another player. So why would we assume a Sprout would know? Additionally, why would we assume a Sprout would know that they had a case to report for? So that's just not a position you want anyone to be in. And yeah, also, if you could skip the cutscenes, if and only if everyone can skip the cutscenes, then the meta would just be only do MSQ Roulette in a pre-made, and then new players going into MSQ Roulette might have trouble finding groups. They probably won't. It'll just be mentors. And people that are fine with queuing into it, I guess. Which is the reason why usually when this conversation comes up, I'm like, sure, let's say that if everyone has already cleared the duty and everyone is in on it, you can skip the cutscenes. But then what if when you do that, the rewards are reverted to the pre-no skipping values? Which I can't remember exactly, but I do believe that the rewards from MSQ Roulette back then were more comparable to high-level dungeons. If not less. And a lot of the time, when I suggest this, like, there are some people that are like, yeah, that's fine. It would still be better value, because we could rush it. But others are like stamping the brakes, like, hold on, why do I have to get less rewards? It doesn't hurt anyone. No one wanted to see the cutscenes. So why do I have to get punished for that? And the logical reasoning being, if you could both skip the cutscenes and get the reward as if you didn't, then it could lead to this kind of toxic behavior. Again, the question then is that fair reason to do that? Like, is that a fair reason to say, no, you can't, you have to sit through the cutscene because maybe there's someone who's going to be a jerk about it? And that one is a little tougher, I think. Also, Dark Crow, hope you're doing well. There's also the new player who sees 3 votes for skip cutscene, be forced to skip because he didn't want to be a problem in a run. Yeah, that's exactly the reason why I'm like, the way they could ensure that Sprouts get to watch the cutscenes on their first go would be to just not allow first-timers to skip the cutscene. Like, nope, you can't skip it if you have a first-timer. And that's also a way to police it. Be like, well, if you have a first-timer, then the reward is massively increased, because you're going to be forced to sit through the cutscenes. But if they're not, then the reward is reduced. Sarah says, I want a only queue with a first-timer option for roulettes. That would be interesting. Let's see here. on a different note, we got through the amount of time I usually set off for mental roulette. So let me just set these things back to how I normally have them. Takes off blindfold. Whoops. I have a few clips noted, but the question then is Yannick, Bonfrey, or Nox here? Is Nox still here, I should ask, because I do think I saw Nox. Give them tomestones of philosophy. Womp, womp, womp. Right. So, as we talked about earlier in the stream, I sometimes do some like review of clips from all of you. But normally that was in like a dedicated stream for that, kind of. That's not how we're doing it now. I think we'll finish off this stream with a little bit of that. And what we have for this one is Nox has been very deep in Hades 2. I've only played Hades 1 myself. But Nox wanted to submit a clip of them playing Hades 2. So we'll be checking that out. Okay, there is sound. Should I jump to anywhere specific? Do you have any highlights, Nox? Also, we can still talk about Final Fantasy 14 stuff through this. We can. The discussion is not necessarily over. Let me just lower that volume a bit. Isn't Colin Ryan a VA in Hades 2? What else does he voice act?
Which keepsake for tonight?
8.0 is looking very isometric. This is it. Right, that is Alphino. I think that's the case. Let me then check through that again. You could, Lejo. Whoops. No thanks. Sorry about that. How would you go about sending them? There's a room in the Discord server, Lejo.
Naturally. Strutting through that. Strutting through that.
Apollo sounds very much like Alphino, does he not?
Naturally.
Naturally. It is a quite long one, Nox, so if you have some specific highlights, maybe that would help. Orb. Hi, Ruba Penguin. Enjoy your day. This seems like it's Orb the weapon, isn't it?
Whispers.
You took damage.
Can't do it. That's dirty.
Oh boy. Thank you for that, YouTube. Yep, YouTube hiccup. It should be okay now.
It's not indeed. Limits. I accept this message.
It does seem like the orbs spend a resource that is down in this corner.
Oh, yes. Immaculate. Goodbye for now.
We meet again.
Oh, new dress.
There.
Music to my ears.
Let's take it easy now.
Nox is explaining a lot of this requires way more time than we have. Perhaps that's the true demonstration in why it makes probably more sense to submit for me to review clips where I actually know what we're looking at. Don't you think? In retrospect, I guess. I should have... I'm not saying that you did anything wrong.
Hail, sister. Here's a little something. All right, I'm off. Not even a scratch. Thorough look.
To random game clip react content? No, not quite. It is specifically a clip that Nox has submitted that they wanted me to see. Oh, that was a boss.
Not even a scratch. Thorough look.
But that would be weird, wouldn't it?
Return to me, sisters.
Oh boy. It's been a long time since I played Hades 1 as well, Cat. So I'm also having a little bit of a hard time reading it.
Not now. That's quite enough. My keepsake isn't doing any good. Couldn't hurt. Into the depths.
It's mostly context. I'm gonna do a clip of a hard mode bosses run. I have a feeling, Nox, that we won't be able to tell much of the difference despite that.
I can use this. The flame sigil. No evil.
Like it's a lot to take in.
These waters are still filled. That may be just. No thanks. Hail, O King. No
Mental
thanks.
Roulette has changed. Yeah, this is 8.0.
Hail, O King.
They decided to just make Hades.
I win this time, O King.
Greetings on.
Apollo's light. Shellbacks. In you go. Chaos. Good to be back.
Er,
I draw you down, O moon. Lend me your light. Within my grip.
I'm just gonna hold here. Nox. I'm very sorry, but I'm basically completely lost. This is. I don't think this is. I don't mean to. You've spent time on specifically recording this to send me, but I can't say anything to this, and it's like it's basically just. This is not the spot for me to learn these things, so I don't think this is It basically to even follow this, you would have had to have done a Hades 2 run yourself, and I haven't. I think I played Hades 1 like 5 years ago, maybe more. So it's a little confusing for me, to say the least. So I think I'll toss the towel. I give up. I can't follow this. It's a little much. I'm sorry. I am very sorry. But still, thank you for sharing. The clip, for anyone that actually did want to see the whole thing, is linked in the Discord server. And you can see it in full if you want to. But I will surrender on that one. What's your favorite flying type Pokemon? Corviknight. Now, with that kind of a sidetrack, I think we will be wrapping up the stream. So, if you would like to be part of the Discord community server, as I linked before, I'll link it again. You'll find a link in the chat. There you will find the weekly schedule where you can see what else is coming up in the coming days. I usually update it under a Monday. You'll also find the announcement room with links to videos and streams when I put them out. And if you grab the reminder roll in the role assignments room, you'll get a notification whenever I post a video or stream. As well as an extra one around 15 minutes before stream starts, so you can catch it right when we go live. And if you'd like to support the channel even more directly, so I can focus on doing stuff like this with all of you, you can subscribe on YouTube, you can follow on Twitch, you can become a member or subscribe, you can use the bits, the super chats, the donations, all that stuff. You can also oh hey Ardell. Hope you're doing well. There's also the Ko-Fi link in the chat that Ardell posted right there. It all helps support me and the channel directly, so I can focus on doing stuff like this with all of you. So thanks so much for the support, and all the support that some of you, like a lot of you, gave tonight as well is also huge. Like some what was it, Sleepy Vlad came in, gave a huge super chat and said it ain't much. Like, it's huge for me. So it's all very much appreciated. So thank you so much for the support. But that'll be it from me tonight. Good night, good night, good morning, afternoon, or evening, depending where in the world, and I hope to see you all very soon. Does any of the Ko-Fi stuff go into buying you coffee? Actually, let me finish on that one. Sometimes I buy like sorry? No! The watcher! Sometimes I buy like instant coffee packets. And sometimes my parents gave me some of those. So technically, sometimes, but I think it can be said that the Ko-Fi stuff is primarily used on things like Final Fantasy XIV subscription or food, so that I can eat, or whatever else, electricity, internet, that kind of stuff. So it is genuinely going to supporting my ability to continue doing this full time, so I can focus on making videos and streams that hopefully you enjoy. That is the intention, and that's the same for all the other support. It's not just Ko-fi. What you're saying is we do pay your sub? Yes, actually. But with that said, good night, good morning, afternoon, or evening, depending where in the world, and hope to see you all very soon. Bye bye!